y'all, I'm Elisa, the Scrappy Wife behind ScrappyWife.com, and I have a fun video for you today. It is officially October, and that means Halloween is right around the corner. Halloween is going to look a little different in our house this year. We're not sure how trick-or-treating is going to go, or you know, there's no Halloween parties. Things are just a little bit different, but that doesn't mean you can't have fun and you can't dress up with your family and your kids and just have a good time. So I am going to make a last minute Halloween costume with my Cricut, and this is my inspiration. Do you guys remember the Operation game where you take the little tweezers and you're pulling out the little pieces from the operation guy and it buzzes if you touch one of the sides? Well, I am going to use this as the inspiration for my Halloween costume, and I'm going to make it with my Cricut. Let's go. All right, the first step is an easy one. I am just making a quick list of all of the shapes that I'm going to need to look for in Cricut Design Space. Okay, I have started a new project in Cricut Design Space, and the first thing I'm going to do is take that list of all of the shapes that I'm looking for, and I'm going to start adding images in. So we'll go to image, and again, 100,000 images. You're going to find most of what you're looking for right here. So let's start nice and simple. Let me just start by saying that I will make my design file public, and I will link it in the comments below if you want to just use the images that I found. But if you're going to look for your own images, you are going to want to find some that are more solid, if that makes sense. You don't want a lot of intricate cuts. First of all, it just doesn't match with what is going on in the game. And second of all, it just won't cut out as nicely on the felt and won't apply as cleanly to your costume. So you can see I'm looking for really solid images. I didn't find a wishbone, so I'm working on melding one together. I'm going to select all those and weld them. And that's what I'm doing with any of the images that have multiple layers that are more complex, is I'm selecting all of the parts of that image and welding them together. That one is for the ribs, and you'll see a little bit later on I end up changing my mind. I find a pretty simple butterfly that I'm going to work with right there, and you can see it's pretty simple, this whole process. The pencil is another one. There were a lot of really intricate pencils, but I chose the most simple one I could find, and again, just welding it together to make sure it would be a nice clean cut. The same thing with the bread. I had to delete one of the back layers to that. And now with the horse. Now a lot of these, there were tons of horses. I was not shocked, but man, I chose the most simple one I could find. And again, I'm selecting it all and welding it so that it is all the same color. And you can see just going through finding all of these little pieces was so easy with Design Space, the design access, because you have access to 100,000 images. Now that I have all my images on here, I'm going to zoom out a little bit so that we can see them all a little bit better. And I'm going to go through and make sure that each image is not multi-layered, if that makes sense. So I want it to just be one color. So I'm going through to make sure that I welded them all. And then I also want them all to be white. Let's see if I can go through individually. And these will all be white because I'm planning on cutting them out of white felt. The reason I am changing the fill on all of these to white is so that when I hit make it, they will all be sorted onto white mats, and that will make it easier for me to see how much felt I actually need to cut with. Okay, I am not happy with this rib shape because it's going to cut the outline, and that's not really what I was wanting. So I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to go back to bones and see if I can find something different that'll work for the rib bone. And you know what? I think we're going to go with this one right here for our rib bones, and I'm going to weld it together and then turn it white. Okay, I have all of my different images that I want to use for my costume. Now I need to make sure they are the right size. Again, I want them to be pretty big, overdone, so that you can see. So somewhere between 4 to 5 inches is what I'm thinking for each one. So I'm just going to make them a little bit bigger, space them out some so that I can get them to fit on my costume. All right, I have all my images. Let's see how they fit on the mats when I click make it. All right, so it looks like they are all going to fit on 2 different mats, which will work out just fine. So I'm gonna get my Cricut set up and then we'll talk about materials. Let's talk about the materials that you are going to need in order to cut. So I have just some basic felt that I picked up at Michael's. It's a nice thin craft felt, and I picked up Heat and Bond Light, and this is what's going to allow you to be able to cut with your Cricut Explore Air too. So this adheres to the back of your felt. I'm going to use my Easy Press to adhere that, and that's going to allow me to cut. And then I also have my Explore Air 2. This is the fabric blade, the deep cut blade. And so you're going to want to switch out your standard cutting blade and put in the new housing and the blade for the fabric. Here I am just measuring out my heat bond paper to a 12 by 12 size, and then I will double that, making another 12 by 12, and I will use my Cricut Easy Press to adhere that to my felt. This is just kind of a cheap craft felt, so having this heat bond on the back gives it a bit more structure, allows it to grip to the mat a little better, and you will definitely get a cleaner cut. So if you have a lot of fuzz that comes up when you are cutting felt, make sure you're using something like this heat bond, or also parchment paper can work as well. All right, we are getting set to go. I'm going to use a strong grip mat because as it cuts some of the more intricate cuts, I really want it to have a nice strong grip onto the mat so it doesn't pull. And then I will put the heat bonded side down like this. Make sure it's on there really well. And then load it into the Cricut. All right, we are all set to cut. Let's go. This whole project was pretty exciting for me. I have never been someone that made my own Halloween costumes. I've never made them for my kids. We've always just done store-bought costumes because it's a busy time in the fall and it's hard to find at the time to make things like this. But since I've gotten my Cricut, it has gotten so much easier and I was excited to try something new. Plus, this saved us from having to wander a store with our masks on to stay safe and find Halloween costumes. This one will work great for me and it'll be fun for my kids. I'm sure they will think that it is absolutely hilarious. Once my Cricut finishes here, I will just remove the images from the sheet and we will move on with the next part. All right, the next step, I have all of my shapes cut out. On the back is that heat bond, so I'm going to be able to use my Cricut Easy Press to attach the white shapes onto red felt to get the effect of the shape within a shape. And then I will cut them out of the red felt. So let's attach and then cut. Easy Press made this a super simple process just to get those down. It really doesn't take much to adhere them to the felt, to put the 2 pieces of felt together. And then I'm just going to fussy cut around the different shapes to give that rough outline. That way they will pop off of my costume and you'll be able to see each shape. Okay, I have my pieces all mounted on the red felt. I could have also cut out the red felt with my Cricut, but I wanted kind of a rougher cut because that's how they look in the game. So it was, I mean, the ones in the game are much larger than the ones in the middle. And so that was the look I went for. Now I'm going to use my heat bond again. I'm going to attach it to the back of the felt so that I can attach it to the rest of my costume. You could certainly sew on this step. Sewing is just not my forte though. So I'm going to use that heat bond in all of its glory to put together this costume. Let's give it a try. All you have to do for the heat bond is you're going to take your shape element and you're just going to kind of roughly cut around that shape. Doesn't have to be super exact, but I'm just gonna roughly cut around, and then I'm gonna, again, use my Cricut Easy Press because it's just so easy. It's right here in my craft room. I can control the temperature. It just works out really well. So I'm gonna use the Cricut Easy Press after I cut it out to adhere it to the back of this shape. So that's done. And then all you have to do, take your Cricut Easy Press for about 3 to 4 seconds. And that should do it. So it's bonded there on the back. I'll let it cool, and then what happens is you pull off the paper backing and you're able to adhere it again, iron again, to bond it to another piece of fabric. I'm going to do the same with the rest of these pieces. I realize sewing these together probably would have been sturdier, but let's be honest, I just need this to last for one day for Halloween, and the thought of sewing is super intimidating to me and probably has been what kept me from making my own Halloween costumes in the past, so using the heat bond works really well. Okay, now it's time for the fun part. This might be one of the oddest things I've ever ordered off of Amazon, but this is a set of thermals, and it is in a nude color, but really it's like a golden color, and it came overnight. So perfect for a last minute Halloween costume. I am going to attach my various pieces onto the thermals. I have my game board right here so I can reference to where everything goes, and we'll get this Halloween costume put together. So as I wrap it up here, I would say all in all, this project probably took me about an hour and a half from start to finish, which I don't think is bad for a custom Halloween costume. I'm super excited. It's been a while since I've gotten dressed up, but I figured that my kids might be a bit down in the dumps without going trick-or-treating, and so it'd be fun to dress up as a family and do some different Halloween activities and fall fun. So I think they are just going to absolutely love this Halloween costume. Thanks to my Cricut, this was a super simple process, and I'm really excited about kind of expanding my crafting skills outside of paper. I would love to hear in the comments below what kind of DIY Halloween costumes you have made in the past, either for yourself or for your kids or a loved one. Let me know. It's tons of fun to share those ideas. I have all of the supplies that I used linked down below, as well as all of the Cricut products. Just a heads up, some of those are affiliate links, and it really helps me a lot when you guys shop those at no extra cost to you. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider hitting that subscribe button as well as the bell notification button. I hope you have a fabulous day, a wonderful fall, and a really happy Halloween. As always, keep it creative.